Hello, Renaissance family. Welcome back to the Jostens Renaissance Happy Hour. Happy Hour. I'm John Rowe, member of the Jostens Renaissance Education team. Our co-host, the one and only Dr. Philip Campbell. What's up, PC? How you
What's
doing?
up, buddy? Happy Monday. Good to see you.
Hey, love Mondays, brother. Let's go. Hey. You got something behind you about some conference coming up. Are you involved in that?
It's right around the corner, isn't it? JRGC, the Jostens Renaissance Global Conference coming up. We are 34 days away from the opening session. And so super excited for that. All the meetings and all the preparation and everything starting to really come together now. There's still room for you to register. We're at right about 1,600 registered right now. So there's still a little bit of space left in there. If you're thinking about joining us in Orlando, you can find more information on that on jostensrenaissance.com. I always say it's the single greatest educational conference on the planet, and looking forward to seeing everybody there. And in addition to all the normal great things that we get to do, somebody on this call is getting inducted into the Jostens Renaissance Hall of Fame.
What? You got to be kidding me. Come on, man.
Cool. Pretty cool. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. It's an incredible. They must have run out of candidates. I don't know, but no, it is it's the greatest honor of my life, and I'm looking forward to it. I've gotten a ton of love from all the posts and all the people reaching out. I'm speechless, really. It's been incredible. The night you guys told me that, I was floored. So yeah. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, you're beyond deserving. And I know we joked the other day that you were going viral on social media and you don't even have social media. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, man.
I know. How about that? That is really something. I really only thought I could maybe get in the Costco shopping Hall of Fame. That was my, so this is incredible. But
yeah,
anyway,
awesome. I'm excited to celebrate you this summer, buddy.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Thank you so much. We have what's a theme? There's some sort of theme for the rally. And I know you struggle with the theme this year because you don't wear that kind of stuff, right?
I'm having trouble finding outfits, right? We're doing the country western theme for the rally. And so, that's always fun no matter what the theme is. But that one was a little bit easier for me to find some things in my wardrobe that I can wear for that one.
You got to pick out which pair of cowboy boots to wear, right?
That's right. The ostrich, the gator, like what are we going to do? Yep.
Awesome. Well, folks, if you found us on Facebook or YouTube, we'd like to welcome you to this unbelievable network of educators. This is our last happy hour of this school year. Feel free to chat any questions you might have, but also share this with your fellow educators. There will be a recording of this. It'll be available on jostensrenaissance.com, and you can also find past happy hours there. And there's some good ones you don't want to miss. Tonight, we got a great guest, Kevin KJ Johnson, 2024 Educator of the Year, principal of Lucille Umbarger School in Washington. Let's bring him on here. There he is. Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Hey, everybody. KJ. Hey, just enjoying some beautiful weather out here in the Pacific Northwest today.
That is awesome. So we're talking about elementary level Renaissance, and your title says Lucille Umbarger Middle School.
Yeah.
Did we get it wrong, or what are we doing here?
No, I don't think you got it wrong. I think like a lot of school districts across the United States, school districts are financially having to make a lot of really challenging decisions. Our school district happens to be just in a little bit of a decline in population. And so we had to make some changes specifically to our smallest site. And it was actually also our oldest site. And so we transitioned into a K-5 and then a middle school site this year. Our K-8 site was the biggest of the sites. And so we were the best fit for the 6, 7, 8 model. And so we've adapted that this year. We have quite a few new staff members. And I think anybody that's working in middle school, God bless you. I'm praying for you too. Hopefully you're praying back. But just the craziness of middle school students have hit us this year. And we're still trying to catch our feet a little bit, but I think we'll get better every single year. And man, the other day, I'm so excited to talk about elementary school. The other day, we were just a little bit late in our bus lane, and we have an elementary school bus that comes and drops off kids in our parking lot to kind of hit their homes in our neighborhood. And the kids were just hanging out the windows, screaming our names, right? Like, hey, Principal KJ, hey, Assistant Principal Wallace, hey, Mrs. Stoddard, hey, Mrs. Hankins. So just that energy was so fun. it's a different energy here now, but that energy is really infectious in the elementary school. So I'm excited and really honored to be able to talk a little bit about it today.
That is awesome. So we're going to dive in deep. We know you have some great experience there. And PC and I are just going to bounce some questions off you and talk for half hour, 40 minutes or so. But let's start with, in your opinion, what is the greatest impact of implementing Renaissance at the elementary level? We've seen tremendous growth in Renaissance in the last several years, which is really exciting. But what do you think is the greatest impact?
Yeah, I started as a high school teacher for 18 years. And when I was first introduced to Renaissance, it was really apparent that many of the different ideas and many of the different projects and programs that were created in Renaissance were really kind of created for the secondary level. So to have the opportunity to be an elementary, or at least a K-8 principal, it's a fun challenge to start thinking about how you can adapt some of those ideas and some of those programs and some of those monthly challenges to work for 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds in the same building, right? But I think it's almost even best fit for elementary school, right? The buy-in at an elementary school with a group of kids, right? Walk into any grade level and walk in there and go, hey, I need to stop what's going on learning-wise right now. I need to know this minute who is the best dancer in this classroom, right? Who can dance the best? And I'm going to put on music right now, and I need to know. I mean, 30 kids will come flying up out of nowhere, and they're going to put on their energy for you, right? So it's just that kind of vibe is so perfect for a Renaissance mindset, a Renaissance philosophy. So I would say, first of all, fun is the greatest impact. The second thing is it's super easy to get everyone on board, right? Most of the classrooms are self-contained in the sense that they don't move around like high school. And so that high school and middle school experience where they move from period to period to period, you get such a different flavor throughout the course of the day. It can be a little challenging to maintain that mindset across an entire school, regardless how big that school is. I mean, our school happens to be 730 kids, but I know there's schools out there that are like, greater than 4,000, right? So to think that every single adult and every single student is kind of dialed in on a Renaissance mindset has got to be a little bit challenging. And maybe that's the challenge in and of itself. Yeah. But when we were in elementary school, one of the funniest things that I think I ever saw happen was our superintendent came in for a walkthrough. And we had really we were maybe in our second year of being what I would consider a Renaissance Platinum school, even though we were still a silver tier at that time, but we were there. She started asking kids in like the third or fourth week of school, hey, what are your favorite things about being in elementary school? What's your favorite things about Lucille Umbarger? And she did it to like 10, 15 kids in the hallway, and they looked really thoughtfully, and they're like, this place is just really, it's kind, and it's super safe, and I feel really, and these are like 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds, right? I feel super engaged, and I think it makes me feel responsible. And I started laughing, right? Because it was such like a professional answer. And she was like, what are you guys doing to these kids? Like, they have these awesome answers. She didn't know yet that those were our school core values, and they'd been so like written everywhere in the school and kind of like the guiding factor of everything that we'd done. They didn't know how to answer a question other than like, oh, this place it's super kind. We're safe. We're so engaged. It's amazing how engaged and responsible. So, I mean, just that kind of like joy in elementary school students is what it's all about. It sets the vibe for the whole school year. It's awesome.
Right. I kind of feel that Renaissance is trying to make like the high schools more like an elementary school, to be honest,
Yeah, in a lot of ways, kind of bringing back that like youthful joy where you don't really have to worry about what other people are thinking because you're trying to have a great time, right? I don't know what age we lose that. And by the way, it's probably middle school because I think we're finding that right now. But, at what point in time when somebody walked into the classroom and asked who the best dancer is, did everybody not jump up and want to start dancing? At some point, it stopped, right? And so getting that back, I think, is really kind of the fun challenge of it.
That's awesome.
KJ, I'd love to drill down even deeper on this because this is something that I think about a lot. It's something that I talk about a lot, is the love of learning and the love of coming to school. And to your point, you go into a kindergarten, first grade, second grade classroom, you ask 30 people, I need to see your best dance. They're all going to dance. If you walk into a high school classroom and you ask that same question, they're going to look at you like you've got 10 heads, right? And so somewhere along the way, that love of learning, that excitement of coming to school, because it goes, my opinion, when we're young, kindergarten, first, second grade, you're up, you're moving, you're in centers, you're cutting, you're gluing, you're pasting, you're doing all these things. And then all of a sudden it's sit down in this desk and let me talk to you for 45 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes. And so now, as you're working specifically with middle school educators, what advice do you have, like from an instructional standpoint? How do you help your teachers, put them in a position to be successful with cultivating, maintaining that love of learning?
Yeah. We're a universal design for learning school in school district, really, really importantly. And so having a lot of different options to be able to show learning, I think is super important, right? At one point in time, the 5-paragraph essay, that was probably the way to go, right? Yeah. And then video cameras came out and we started like, well, could I make a video to express my learning? And why couldn't you do both? Or why couldn't you do one or the other? Why couldn't I, do something that's really outside of the box that I'm thinking about? And so I think, cultivating the joy of the teacher's mindset, thinking about there's more than one way to express learning. And in our school, really specifically too, because we are a multilingual school, does it have to be in English? Could I show it in Spanish? Right? Really helping students meet them where they're at, give them some successes, show that they're going to grow over the course of the year, but also that fearlessness in not really being afraid to fail, right? And I think the vulnerability of a teacher showing that off is really important. I do it every day because I make a daily briefing, and I'll talk more about that kind of stuff, daily bulletin, daily briefing every single day. It's one take. I don't take multiple takes. If I flub a word, that's life, right? No one's perfect in the way that they speak. I'm probably going to say about 4,000 times on this, right? I might say like a couple times, and that's real world. This is not a professional setting that I'm giving the daily briefing in. And so it's okay for them to see some of my faults and flaws, but we still move forward and we're still passionate and we're still excited. And I think if teachers can be that way, if they can really open their classroom and open their heart into like, there's more than one way to express learning and what I'm trying to get across, and students can find a pathway that's going to be successful for them to do that in, I think we're setting them up for a better future than if we just say there's only one way to do this and I need you to do it this way and it's worth 4,000 points, and I'm sorry if you got 1,000, but it's going to sink your grade, and my bad.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Let's go back when you were an elementary principal.
Yeah.
All that way back last year.
Yeah.
What did Renaissance look like, or what does it probably still looks like? What does it look like at the elementary level in your district?
Yeah, I to be fully transparent, you sent that question beforehand, and I thought about that one probably the most of any of the questions because it's a really hard question to answer. You'll find that I'm a story guy. That's kind of the way that I process things, and so I go back to my good friend Scott Krenz, who used to be our Renaissance, our Jostens advisor here in Northwest Washington, and I'd known him from the high school that I worked at, and so then when I moved down to a middle and elementary school, it kind of changed our relationship a little bit. Like we needed to figure out how he could intersect Jostens into our school. And so we did a lot of what I thought at the time were pretty progressive things to bring Renaissance into a K-8 school. And one of the things the first time he came to our school was, I'm surprised that it's taken this long for me to figure out what your school is about. I'm more than 250 steps into your building. And he reminded me that like the first 100 steps into the building is really important to set the tone for what your building is about. And so that was probably the gut punch I didn't want from Scott at that time. Yeah. But it was probably the one that I needed to start really thinking about branding in the school, and started thinking about not even just the branding on the walls, but also like the branding of who we are and what we're about, right? The community can tell your story, but it's not usually a fair story. When we tell our story, it's real because we're there for 6.5 to 8 to 9 hours a day. And so we know the reality of what's happening inside of our building. And so just with that one question, if you back all the way out into our parking lot, that's generally when I bring new teachers into our school. That's generally when I bring new families into our school. And it's absolutely when we bring in our new students to our school. It used to be kindergartners into our school for the first time. Now it's going to be fifth graders when they're going to be sixth graders. I talk about that first 100 steps. I want you to be able to see the wolf. I want you to be able to feel our mission. I want you to be able to understand our core values. And I want you, most of all, to feel like this is a place where I can learn and be loved and know that it's safe and that I'm going to have a second chance on almost every day, and that we're going to really push for you to succeed over these 3 years that we have you, because this is important stuff that we do, but it's not as important as the relationship that we're going to build with you for the rest of your life, because I bet we're going to have your kids at some point too.
That's awesome.
I love all of that, John. That's so good.
Can I just make one comment? What struck me as the three of us on this call had a Jostens rep change our lives by introducing us to Renaissance. Yeah. Isn't that awesome? So if you're a Jostens rep listening to this, thank you. Thank you so much. It's life-changing.
100%.
Yeah.
And I still work with the Krenz family today. I mean, I hesitate to think what life would be like without the Krenz family in my life. They're really amazing people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. Some of the best people on the planet. That's for sure. Yeah. KJ, what about in terms of like, did your kids qualify for Renaissance? Was there a card system? Like, what did that look like at your elementary school?
So we have both. And actually, believe it or not, I actually passed out our honor roll cards for first semester even today to our sixth graders. So I'm right here on that question. No one needs to qualify to be a part of Jostens Renaissance. Everybody is eligible that walks into our school. I think the only benchmark that you have to have is that you want to come to school, you want to learn, and you want to be a wolf, right? I mean, there's no 40 time, there's no vert test, there's no bench press, qualification. It's not a combine to get in, right? If you want to come to school and learn and love, I think we're great. That's where we want to be. Now, the card system, right? I mean, we need to have some separation in that. So we have our honor roll system, and I'd love to actually really spend a little time talking about our elementary school honor roll system, because I think 9 out of 10 times they're based on, academic grades, A's, B's, C's, and D's. And then everybody probably has like a bring up your grades kind of thing, or like a 0.5 mover. And we have that, but we sat in a Dallas Renaissance Northwest region session while Mark and Jamie Morey were talking. And she was a second grade teacher at the time. Now she's more like our dean of students and restorative practices coordinator. She looked over at me and she said, couldn't we use our ARC reading scores for the elementary school to create an honor roll? And I was like, shh, don't even say that out loud. That's like the best idea I've ever heard. We got to get it on the idea exchange before you say it in this room, because someone's going to steal it from us, right? That's like the killerest idea ever. And so we have a district reading curriculum. It's called ARC, American Reading Curriculum. And, probably like all of them, it levels you out into different colors and all that kind of stuff, and based on your grade system. And we thought it's probably not fair to say if you are in the fourth grade and by the end of the fourth grade, you're in the fourth grade reading level, that's what makes you honor roll. That didn't feel right, because we have students that they're going to work as hard as they can and they're never going to get that far. And that's okay, because they're still working hard. So what we decided is if you make a year's worth of growth, and we could measure that, right? We do a lot of independent reading with students, and we do a lot of kind of group evaluation with students. We could measure that year's worth of growth, and that is what we decided was going to be our honor roll system. So if you made a year's worth of growth, boom, you're in the Wolfpack honor card system. If you got half a year's worth of growth, 6 months, you're in the 0.5 movers range. And so they each have set specific awards, but we wanted to be able to honor elementary school students who are on a standards-based grading system, 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, right? And that doesn't equate to A's, B's, C's, and D's. It's two different a metric. And oftentimes that standards-based grading system can be a little bit subjective too. This is not something that could be subjective. This was something concrete. And so the couple years that we were able to do that before we transitioned to a middle school, I mean, to see kids' faces when they got that year or that 6 months, and knowing that, hey, I'm going to get my shirt, I'm going to get some ice cream at a surprise party, I'm going to get a snack at an assembly, I'm going to get a special grade, I'm going to get special red or black glasses with paws on it, right? I mean, they just like, oh, that smile, right? That little kid's laugh. That's exactly what we wanted. And we heard it in their parents too. When you shoot them a note on Parent Square and you could send a picture of them in their gear, where you can make that phone call. And they don't always get that phone call, right? They're like, okay, let me settle in for a second. I got to close my door. And they're like, no. This is a good one. Like, no. Like, you want to open the door and you want to make sure people hear what's going to happen, because you're going to go share this. That's like the moment that we're hoping for kids. And we're hoping every kid can get that. So it's not just some kids. Every kid is eligible. And it was our goal to give it to every kid.
Yeah.
Right. It was our goal to give it to every kid. It didn't work for every kid, but that was definitely always our goal. And it continues to be our goal now that we're doing the letter grades again.
Nice. So how does it work at the elementary level? High school student voice is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a little more difficult at the elementary level? Do you have teachers kind of involved? How does it run?
It can be. The teachers do a great job. I was blessed when I came to the school district to be able to have some grant money to play with, and so I don't know how many years ago it was now, 4 or 5, maybe it was. It was probably 4 or 5. It was maybe that first year back in Orlando post COVID after the virtual years. Which, by the way, don't tell anyone. We did the virtual. Jostens Renaissance conferences in my backyard on a big screen TV. And so we were definitely 6 feet apart as far as and we were all outside breathing air and we were watching and all that kind of stuff. I'll never forget the purple cows from Mr. Wolf. That was always a pretty good one. We found a couple purple cows in that episode. Anyway.
Well, you said don't tell anyone. You said don't tell anyone, but a lot of people listen to this, so it's out there now. So
yeah, fair. Yeah, I forgot that we're not just 3 of us talking. I was able to get 13 people to a conference one time, and I did high key. I had a breakdown at the conference. I just couldn't believe I had 13 people there. I'd gone so many times as a singleton, right? And I just would watch other groups that would get, 5 people or 6 people. In some cases, they bring 30 people and they bring kids. I'm just like, how do you do that? How do I spread this by myself? I feel like I'm the only one that's like understands what's happening. And it's so hard to explain when I come back because you have to deal with MTS and PBIS and, reading literature and UDL and all the different things when you come back. How am I going to make time for this? So to get 13 people to that conference was just, that changed everything. And I don't think it would have mattered if I would have brought 3. Right. Yeah. Honestly, it's just like being someone more than myself at the conference was so powerful, and you make friends and, I get that about the conference. Right. But like to bring people that are going to come back to your site and go, I know what you're talking about. Let's do this. Mm-hmm. That became so powerful as a teacher group. And then it bled throughout our students because they were so excited. So how did I get student voice? Honestly, like some of the 4th and 5th graders, they were the most passionate about the awards that they were getting. They understood the concept of like visible, tangible, and walk aroundable. They didn't really want a piece of paper. They wanted swag. They wanted something they could wear in the community that said their school name on it. We had very different colors as an elementary school than we did as our high school. We were red, black, and white, and our high school is blue and gold. And so they would show up on Friday nights in red and black, and they stood out a little bit, right? They're like, oh, you go to LU, man. That's cool. I hear good things about that school. I actually, believe it or not, that you talked about me being the 2024, one of the educators of the year. I was at one of our local football games, and the grandfather of a student, he was like, wait, you're the principal over there? And I go, yeah. And he pulled out his wallet. He had an article that was written in our local newspaper about that. And he pulled it out and he goes, I've been waiting to meet you.
Oh, wow.
I want to know what this is about. I'm so excited that this exists. And I was like, this is made up. This is not real. This is so crazy that this happens in small towns. And everybody around us was like, did that guy just pull an article out of from like a paper newspaper? He didn't bring it up on his phone. He had it cut out, like waiting for that moment. And it was just so neat to see kids running around in their gear. And, that was the kind of the feedback we got. Another big thing is the monthly challenges. Before Jostens did like monthly challenges, we were doing them for points. We kind of pulled that system out of the big main stage, giving points. We became kind of a house system. And I could talk a little bit more about that if you want, but I don't have to. But we were what we call the Harry Potter satellite school. And so we broke our school up into 4 different groups based on the houses of Harry Potter. And they competed across the whole year. And they had the big board and we'd award points for everything. And the kids had a lot of insight into how many points they should get and what kind of challenges we should do beyond the monthly challenges that Jostens would kick out. Because a lot of the Jostens challenges are one-offs that are great, but they want to sustain it throughout the course of the whole month. So if it was, we want to do the collar number 9, for example, last month, they also want to do, let's clean up our campus every Friday. And so for bags of garbage that they would get out on the out on the playground or whatever, like people just leave out milk cartons and stuff like that. They'd come in and they'd be like, hey, is this worth points? We're like, 10 points, Hufflepuff, whatever. Yeah, cool. And so we added in there, and they had a lot of ideas about that. And so that's where we got a lot of the student voice in, was kind of like, this is what we'd like for doing these things.
That's so cool, man. Just taking it and then taking it to the next level. And it's funny because John and I, we were on a call earlier today and we were talking about School of Distinction applications. And that was one of the things that John said was how awesome it is to watch these Renaissance schools that take an idea, whether it's from the idea exchange or from the conference or whatever, but then they put their own twist on it and they level it up. And just, some of the awesome things that are happening on campuses, across the country and beyond. It's so cool. KJ, I would love to hear from you about rallies. And, those are some of my favorite things that I did as a Renaissance advisor that we do now at the conference. What did rallies look like for you at the elementary school level? How often did they take place? Did kids have to qualify to get to come? Did everybody get to come? Like, what was that like for you guys?
Yeah. So I will say this, for forever, well, not forever, because I've only been here 8 years, but for like 5 or 6 years, I kind of ran them myself, and I passed them off to our leadership and our ASB coordinator, Saul Ruiz, this year. And I cannot believe how much better they are, because he brings this whole leadership class with him. So I do want to preface it by saying that don't be the person that just does it on your own, right? It's so much better when you get everybody involved, especially the students. That said, one of the ideas we got from the students was, can we sit in our houses during assemblies, so that fifth graders are sitting with third graders, are sitting with kindergartners, are sitting with second graders, and setting the model expectation for what that looks like. So again, we kind of shifted the Harry Potter houses into like color combinations. So instead of Gryffindor, it was Greenfindor, and their color were green. And so they had to be all in green. And the funniest one ever, I use it in every presentation I've ever done. We changed Hufflepuff to Purple Puff. And one classroom, one of the teachers brought bandanas, purple bandanas for all the kids. So I wasn't really paying attention, but I was up on the stage. And when I looked out there, all I could see was a bunch of prison mics from The Office. They all had them sticking up. I have a picture of it from my perspective, and it's one of my favorite memories from rallies. So, yeah, we try to get as much energy in there as possible, and it's not hard with elementary school kids. They want to get up and move anyway. But really, honestly, we model them after what we see with you guys, right? A lot of competition-based stuff, a lot of student recognition, a lot of adult recognition as much as we can. How often do we try and do them? Honestly, I tried to do once a month. I probably got like once a quarter best. That was probably as good as we could kind of fit it into our schedule, just based on the nature of school being school. But we aspire to go monthly in the future for sure.
Does your whole school gather?
Well, we were a K-8, so it was weird. So like, I'm going to break it down for you. If you're a K-5 site, we had all K-5 together. It was really important for us to do that. And it was important for us to have games that were accessible for kindergartners that didn't necessarily have to be accessible for fifth graders, and vice versa. So you can have multiple competitions. You can be like, hey, I need one of our older kids from Greenfindor today. I need like a fourth or fifth grader to get a volunteer, different than if we have the kindergartners up there. So yeah, we did them all together. We thought it was important that, your teachers see them from kindergarten all the way through the fifth grade. And it's important for them all to be in the same assembly so that they can support and celebrate the kids along the way. Again, our school is just quirky enough that we didn't have one space that was big enough to have the whole school. We tried that, but the speakers just were like not great. And then you're watching with binoculars from the back. So we broke it into a 6, 7, 8 assembly, and then a K-5 assembly. And it usually worked out. We didn't do them on the same day. That would be crazy. We did them on off Wednesdays. One in the gym, one in the cafeteria, and it just worked out better that way. And everybody came. I'm sorry, you asked that question. Did you have to qualify? Everybody comes to the rallies, but not everybody goes to the celebrations. Does that make sense? It's like we're going to have an honor roll, honor card celebration. That's going to be a surprise party for those kids, but everybody gets to go to the rallies. We want to make that important. We want them to see the vision of like, I want to be up on stage, right? I think about PC when he talked about his first Renaissance conference and like, I see the people on stage. How do I do that? Same thing from our kids. How do I get up on that stage? What do I need to do so I can be one of those guys? And if that's their motivator, great. Hopefully it will sustain over time.
Yeah. Planting the seed.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, planting the seed. Our good friend Dwight Carter is checking in from Ohio. Says good stuff, KJ. Dwight, we appreciate you listening and joining us here on Happy Hour tonight. Looking forward to seeing you here this summer, man. If anybody has questions for KJ before John goes to the next question, feel free to put them in the chat. We can ask them here before we wrap up here later tonight.
KJ, I'm going off the grid here a little bit.
You bet.
I hope you're good. You mentioned PBIS, and I know you've talked about how PBIS and Renaissance interact. Mm-hmm. Can you comment on that a little bit, how they work together in your building?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about Renaissance kind of being the icing on the cake a little bit, right? I mean, you're going to have PBIS systems that everybody's got to kind of play with. Everybody's got to have access to kind of a tier 1 system of supports, but they've also got to have access to a tier 1 system of celebrations too, that are accessible for every student in our school. And then as you work your way kind of towards the top of that PBIS pyramid, you have a few smaller groups, but having those wins in place for students that you can group up that have kind of a common need that we're addressing, there's ways to celebrate that. The tippy top students that we're working with the most, we call them at promise students here at school. We know their families really well. We know the student really well. We know the complexity of what they bring to school. We know the complexity of their experience at school, and there's still ways to celebrate them that are very Renaissance in look, feel, and style. We had a student win one of our positive ticket polls one time. Positive tickets were just like, I caught you doing one of our core values, and it's like a little note that everybody has in their office, and then you give one to the kid, and then one goes in like a drawing. We pulled one out. And one of our students who, we work a lot with, he's one of our at promise students. He won a hat, and he was super excited to take it home. The next day his dad came and he was like, that hat, man, that's amazing. He's like, can I buy one? And I was like, no, but I'm going to give you one. Right. I mean, that's cool that you wanted to come in and you were excited about coming in. I think a lot of families that, anyone talks about, I'm going to say the word challenging, but please know that I mean that with the most love in my heart. Oftentimes they're even approaching the school from the parking lot with a little bit of trauma based on their experience. And it doesn't have to be a school. It could be an airport. It could be a police station. It could be a court. It could be a grocery store, right? Just everybody has kind of like something that causes a little bit of trauma or just a little bit of anxiety when they're coming in. And that's that family. And yet on that day, he was ready to pop right in and be like, man, I'm so proud of my kid. Like they did such great things. And so having those systems in place, like right away, like it's just the system. It's not something that we're manufacturing out of thin air at that moment in time. It's just what we do, I think is so important.
That's awesome. Dwight Carter had a great comment, as he always does. PBIS is required. Renaissance is how you implement. It's the framework. Oh, yeah. There it is. Popped up there. Wow. Awesome. I didn't know we could do that. That's cool.
That's good stuff, right? Good stuff. And then Heather Miller is also watching, John, and she had a comment about the rallies and says she loves that everyone gets to go to the rallies. And I think, I love your point again to that, KJ. Just you're planting that seed, right? How can I get up there? How can that's going to be me one day. And so I love that so much. And so shout out to Heather and say thanks for tuning in too.
And there's something about the energy of an elementary school rally too. You want everyone there, right? I think that's important to have that kind of energy as you get to a high school rally. I mean, I remember being a high school leadership guy and we'd leave the library open and you probably get 30, 40 kids that wanted to go up there. They just didn't want to be a part of the rally. And that's okay. They're making choices more as like an adult mindset at that point. But get the energy in the room, right? Make it infectious, like give everybody something to do during that experience. And I think you're going to have a really great time. And so the kids, that's most important, right? That's one of the things I think I've learned from Renaissance over time is I know that every single adult is talking about the students, but it rubs off on me, right? I mean, I learn something every time, right? When Mike Smith talks, I know he's not talking to me. He's talking to a high school student, but I learned something from it too. And it's the same thing with Keith Hawkins, and it's the same thing with John Paul Gonzalez. It's all of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. KJ, last question we're going to ask you that's like strictly Renaissance focused. Talk about the impact that Renaissance has made on your school, both when you were the K-8, now as the middle school. what are the lasting effects? What's the transition? What are the changes that you've seen that Renaissance has helped to create?
Yeah, I kind of made a list of some things, right? And most importantly, at the top for me as a principal, and I think about the culture of the school and what I would like for people to see and what I would hope that people would see. One of the things that I think is really little but is super important is that the teacher classroom doors stay open. And that might seem really little, but when you're sharing what's happening inside the classroom and you're vulnerable enough to let people see, and you're not worried about what they're going to think, I think that says a lot about the trust. I think that says a lot about the community in the school that you're trying to build. And I don't know how kids couldn't, really benefit from that. It's not about worrying about the kid in the hallway that's trying to say hi to Johnny or Susie in the classroom when they walk by. It's just more about like, hey, what's going on in here? And you want to pop in and kind of be a part of it because it looks interesting. It sounds interesting. And so seeing the doors open is just one of those little things that kind of makes my heart grow 3 times when I see that happen. I'm proud of the faculty that we have that leave their doors open, even when it's loud sometimes. Then you get into the data, the discipline goes down, right? The joy for school comes back a little bit. And I think that's reflected in your discipline data. Kids are happier to be there. So the misbehavior is not going to happen as much. That might honestly be one of the things that we're dealing with a little bit this year. We took 5 different communities and put them in one building. And so we just haven't done enough to build all of that trust and love and joy in school again, because I used to go there and I used to go there and I'm only here for a year and then I'm off to high school. So that's one of our challenges that we're working on this year as a middle school, but in elementary school, that's something you can play on pretty hugely. And then that final one that I would say is like the faculty really know each other. It doesn't matter if I work in room 100 and the other person works in room 217, we still know each other. And we value each other. And even though you might teach kindergarten and I might teach 5th grade, or you might teach science and I might teach PE, there's still a commonality of like, yes, we work in the school, but we have joy in being in this school together. And we find out those little fun things about each other that are deeper than just kind of passing in the night and being like, morning, how are you? Good. And, you just pass by, you stop and talk and you get really collegial and you have good times.
That's awesome. KJ, I could listen to you all night, man. You are amazing, but we got to wrap it. We like to keep these relatively short, but we always like to end with a little twist I didn't tell you about. So
that's okay.
Dr. Campbell has a couple questions for you.
Sure. All right. We're going to rapid fire pop quiz. You ready, KJ?
Always.
All right. If you had to eat one food every day for the rest of your life, what are you eating?
Corn dogs.
Corn dogs.
Yeah. I love corn dogs. It's my second favorite food. My first one is Dungeness crab, but that's unrealistic. That's too rich. But I'd say corn dogs.
Corn dogs. That is
hey, you gotta come to Michigan. There's this Pronto Pup stand in Grand Haven, Michigan that you probably heard of it. It's just unbelievable corn dogs. So it's
my favorite. I mean, you should see the daily bulletin when it's corn dog day here. Right? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's a showcase of excitement. So yeah, corn dogs.
All right. If you had to drink one drink every day for the rest of your life, what would your drink be?
Somebody asked me that the other day. That's a really tough one. I think the easy answer is probably Dr. Pepper. I think the right answer is probably water, but I don't like the taste of water. So I'm going to say Dr. Pepper, but I'm going to say 0 sugar because I turned 51 this year. And so I don't think I need as much sugar as I used to. And Dr. Pepper 0 is actually one of the better ones.
Okay, there you go. Favorite sport?
Football. Yeah, without a doubt.
Favorite sports team?
Seattle Seahawks. World champions. Seattle Seahawks. Can we just let that resonate for a second?
Home of the 12th man, right?
Exactly.
Favorite athlete of all time?
Oof, man. I'm going to go deep cut on you. You ready for this? Steve Largent.
Okay. Oh,
Steve Largent has been my athletic hero for like my entire life. I can vividly remember being 5 or 6 years old. My dad turned on the TV and the Seahawks were playing the Detroit Lions in the Silverdome. And I saw Steve Largent. And I was just like, I can't imagine anybody more amazing than Steve Largent. He's always been my athletic hero.
I love that, man.
That's awesome.
Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan.
I had a kid. This is funny. I had a kid the other day come up and legit try to give me an argument that James Harden is the greatest basketball player of all time.
That's tough. Yeah.
That is a tough one.
What do you say to that? What do you say? I just had to walk away. I was just like, all right.
What you could argue is he's probably better than each of the other 2 in college at Arizona State.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, Jordan wasn't allowed to be Jordan at North Carolina, and LeBron didn't go to college. So there you go.
There you go. If you could see any 3 musicians or bands that you've never seen perform live before, who would you see?
That I've never seen perform live?
That you've never seen.
Do they have to be alive?
No.
Okay, I would say Prince for sure.
Oh, yes.
I've always been fascinated by that concert. Really want to see that. I'm going to say the third one's going to be, you're either going to think it's really funny or really weird. The second one, man, I guess original Nirvana. Being a Seattle guy, you know, we were always around them, but we never quite hit them together. They got big fast, and then they were out of here, kind of thing. So, being a Pacific Northwest kid, I would say Nirvana is probably a big one. PC, John. A couple of weekends ago, I was in Las Vegas, and we were there to surprise a friend. And we did surprise him, but I found out from I'm not going to say the place that we were staying at, but there's a festival that was right across the street, and they weren't really talking that much about it, but they were like, expect a lot of people to be here the next day. And I was like, okay. And so I started noticing the people that were there the next day, and they were wearing their favorite band shirts. They were geared up, face paint. I mean, they were ready to go. And so my number 3 is I wish I could have been at this festival because I think it would have been crazy amazing. The final main stage in order of appearance was Cypress Hill, followed by System of a Down, followed by Korn. And it was a whole day's worth of festival of like crazy, like late 90s, early 2000s metal. And it was all dudes my age that shouldn't have been doing that stuff anymore because they're not in shape enough to do it anymore. But I would have loved to just have a seat and watch each one of those because it would have been so fun.
That's awesome. I had mine Saturday night. I had mine Saturday night. Bruno Mars. Got to see Bruno Mars.
That's awesome.
That was a bucket list thing for me. It was incredible.
I'll tell you, a surprise concert we did a couple years ago was Lionel Richie.
Oh.
I didn't think I would dig that, but it was like you've heard every song.
Yeah.
You know,
he's coming to Grand Rapids in like 3 weeks. So I might have to go hit it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
John, there's a question from the audience. Brooke Suzanne checking in says, this was great. Will it be saved so that I can have other coworkers in my school watch it?
Absolutely. Can you watch them on Facebook after?
Yep. I'm not definitely be on the Jocelyn. Yep. It'll be on the Jocelyn Renaissance Facebook page. And then you also put it on the website.
And also on jostensrenaissance.com under events, you go down to happy hour and all the past happy hours, including this one, are recorded on there.
Good stuff.
Awesome. I think we got to wrap it up, PC. This has been so fun. It is so great. Thank you so much for joining us, KJ. We're sad you can't come to the conference because we love.
Yeah, I'm bummed, man. That's okay.
Next year.
Yep, for sure.
Hey, for those of you that watch Happy Hour this year, thanks a lot. Well, this is the last one for the school year. We'll be back in the fall. PC, why don't you wrap us up here?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks again, KJ. You're an absolute rock star, somebody that I think the world of, man. So thank you for your time. I know how busy you are, especially, this time of the year where it's testing season and wrapping up and all that kind of good stuff. So thank you so much for everything that you do. John, thank you for hosting these throughout the school year and coordinating all the guests and all the behind the scenes stuff. And congratulations again on getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And super excited to celebrate you here in 34 days in Orlando, my guy. And so again, there's still room to join us at Jocelyn Renaissance Global Conference. You can find more information on jostensrenaissance.com. We would love to see you and some other educators and some students from your school there in Orlando. And if not, then I hope to see you on the road sometime during the 26-27 school year.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, guys.